Hi everyone, welcome back to the Coding and Analysis YouTube channel. And in the previous video, I ran the XGBoost function, just train and predict with the position and feature parameters. So the features are these columns that were in the X train. So they're the feature columns. And then the position is where I put the RB features. So this is the features. This is the position right here. So RB, wide receiver, QB, so position, and the features. So these are the parameters in the function. And then we're concatenating the results, and then we're looping through this dictionary, find specific players. So we're going to go in the data frame and update their projected points and notes according to the accordingly. So everything in this dictionary, we're looping through this dictionary, then we're telling the data frame here change these players for these reasons. Then we're exporting the results, and we get the MAE right here. The training, so the training is 80-20 split, so the 80% training is always going to have a good MAE score, and then the testing is going to be a little off because that's the 20% that was on unseen data. So we can see the feature importances. The projected roll, 49% is the highest feature importance, and rush attempts, rush touchdowns, 7%, 4%. And then rush attempts was at 14%. And we can see the wide receiver tight end training MAE 16. So that's not too far off the 36. That's only 20 points off. And then we see the 2024 receptions, 29%, projected rolls, 22%. Receiving receptions is 8%, receiving touchdowns 7.4. And then we have the training MAE. So the 80% training, that's only 2.9, so that's really good. And then the testing, that's the farthest off of the positions, 54 points off. And we can see the projected roll here is 53%, pass touchdowns 11%, and then rush 2023 rush touchdowns and 2024 rush touchdowns. So I guess the model is also when we're placing the rush touchdowns at 6.75, 5.9, it's gonna show more preference to the rushing quarterbacks for sure. So when we look at the R square and MAE by position, just with all the data combined, not with just the testing data, but all the data combined, we get this empty list. Then we do the for loop, and then we get our subset that we want the fantasy position of each position, and then we get the ESPN models, and then we get our model predictions, and then we append or do a dot append method and add these to this empty list, and then we convert it to the data frame for easy viewing, and then we get this results for all of the data. So we get really good R square scores, and MAE is low here. Everything's close to 0 point, so 90% or 0.9 R squared, and 1 is a perfect score. So that looks good. But let's look at the testing data. So we want to add the testing data. So instead of just the empty, start off empty Python list. So we have the empty Python list, but then we want to I guess, I mean, up here we had all the predictions, but in here we're filtering on just the test. So data split, we're saying filter on the test, and then we want the unique NFL positions: wide receiver, running back, tight end, quarterback. Then we get the R2, the MAE, then append the results to the empty Python list, then convert the data frame. So this position underscore metrics become a list of dictionaries, which is then converted to the pandas data frame. So converting it here, then we're printing out the results. You can see here the running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, they have pretty decent R2 scores for the testing data, and the MAE scores isn't too far off, but the quarterbacks, that's a pretty low R2 score, even though the 55 isn't too bad. So we have 55.69. So let's look at the CSV file. So we can see here Christian McCaffrey. So the 2024 stats was factoring for the most part. And even though the projected roll is at 49%, he was still hurt in 2024. So that's why we're getting our models putting out 159.88 compared to ESPN's 322 model, with him being counted as fully healthy for the full season. I guess this is their predictions for the 16, 17 games for Christian McCaffrey, but our model is calculating and factoring in that he was hurt last year, and factoring the other things like the his adjusted risk, especially with him with his histories of injuries. So let's look at another testing. Jonathan Taylor, he was in the testing split. So it looks like all the testing players in the testing are going to be somewhat to much lower than the ESPN's model. So he's at 234, which really the 234 wasn't off from the others. In the previous video, I did a walkthrough of Jonathan Taylor's prior. So we had like 244 last year and 220 in our models. The cross validation and random forest regressor and the full training was all around 220. So really that's not too far off from all our models compared to ESPN's. It's a highly optimistic for Jonathan Taylor compared to his historical data and the number of games he's played in the past. So let's see if he can remain healthy the whole season and go close to that 296 number. Derrick Henry, it's only 30 points off. That's not too bad. And with him in the test split, James Cook, that's not too bad either. If Cook in the test split and the training wasn't too far off. The MAE was close. The MAE was 6.98. So these players in the training are going to be pretty close. Aaron Jones, 219. The exact score. Chuba Hubbard, 259. So that's very close. Let's look at Justice Hill. So that's much lower than the ESPN's projections. I guess our 50% was projected roll, so it's predicating this score on him being a backup, I guess. Especially him and Miles Sanders. They're projected to be backups. Even though the Miles Sanders 39, ESPN's model is 44, so that's close. But for some reason, ESPN. But then, Justice Hill, he does play in tandem with Derrick Henry, so the 100 points probably. This would be less accurate. This would probably be maybe around 90, 100 would probably be a close score for Justice Hill if he keeps 10 or 12 carries in the game with sharing them with Derrick Henry. So we look at the let's look at some rookies. So Cam Scatabo. So he's like the one guy in the running backs that. So we have Woody Marks too. So, but he is 50 points higher than the ESPN projected model. I have to go and see if I think I have him as a projected backup. So I have him as have him as a 0. This is a backup. So that's interesting that our testing model has him as 202. Might be an interesting pickup to pick him up, see what he can do in the NFL draft or fantasy football draft. So look at the wide receivers and tight ends. So Stephon Diggs is in the testing, so that's around 30, a little over 30 points off. Justin Jefferson, so 301 compared to 323. Yeah, probably 3. I'll probably agree with our model, 301. Especially with JJ McCarthy. I just don't know what he's going to exactly do. And Marvin Harrison, that's a. I guess, I don't know. I guess the model's calculating his 2024 stats, and I guess they were around 180 or 190. I don't think they were 240. I don't think. But that's our testing model is much slower than the ESPN's model for Marvin Harrison Jr. But maybe around 200. I could probably see him scoring 200 points this year. And then Devonta Smith, he's one of the wide receivers that score higher than the ESPN model at 226, a little over it. A little over the model. And then let's find a rookie, see if there's any rookies to look at. Lucer Burden Jr., so he's in the training. That's interesting. He's in the training at 148 and a lot higher than the ESPN model has him. And then Jaden Higgins. So that's interesting. Our model, so he's a rookie. Our model has 172 and the ESPN model 166. So that's pretty close to each other. Normally you see farther off or somewhat lesser amounts for the our model compared to the ESPN's model. But Jaden Higgins, he won that. He's a little higher than the ESPN's model. Let's look at a tight end, Mason Taylor. Or let's see, Colston Loveland, so 148, 155. That's pretty close. And he's in the testing split, and he's a rookie. So that'd be interesting to see if him as a rookie on the Bears can get up to around 150 fantasy football points. So let's look at the quarterbacks. So Joe Burrow, so he's much lower than the ESPN model at 250. Now, I guess that's one of the reasons our model is, I guess, factoring in like rushing, rushing touchdowns. Rushing touchdowns in 2023 and 2024. And since he's, I guess, not much of a rusher, I guess that's probably factoring into a little why he's getting 250, which that seems sort of low. 300, around 300 would probably be a good goal. Good predictions around 300. So we'll see if he can remain healthy and get up to over 300. And then Anthony Richardson, he's at 106, which I guess that's because our projected role has him as a backup. So that's probably factoring in a lot to that score. Drake May, he was in the testing. I guess Justin Fields, it says he's having a lower score because of his 2024 stats. He wasn't able to play too much. He played some games, maybe like half the games, and then they brought in Russell Wilson to finish off So that's factoring in why he's at 156. Let's look at a rookie Cam Ward, so 222, 255. He's in the testing. Now 222, that's probably a decent score for Cam Ward. 255 might be slightly optimistic. And Jackson Dart, he's in the training, so he's at 130 and 130, so that's pretty close. I think the quarterbacks, the MAE was a 2.9, so it did really good on the training, then farther off on the testing MAE. So when we look at the doing the chart and computing the R score and MAE, the entire data set combined, the training and testing combined, get the top 5 outliers, and then he's using this dictionary, key value pairs for our colors, and then the parameters and scatter plot, a diagonal line, and we're labeling and titling, and then we're telling where to display the R square and MAE on our chart, and then we get the predicted and actual. So our model versus ESPN's model. So you can see here the outliers are Rachel, Tootin, Keaton, Keenan Allen, Roma Adunze, Justin Fields, and Christian McCaffrey. So if we look at the top 5 overvalued players, so these, I guess the top ones are in the test. The ESPN, they have Tootin as only 63 points, while our model has much higher at 202. And then Keenan Allen, our model is still optimistic on Keenan Allen. And Adone Mitchell at 155, which that's possible. I think he can score more than 78 points, especially with he's coming off his rookie year, so I'm sure he's gotten better and working to score more than 78 points for sure. So let's look at the undervalued players. So these are all in the test. So some of these were in the training. Jack Beck, Noah Fant, and Tyler Boyd, but I guess that's because they were 0 and our model was predicting, always giving them a few. So I think Tyler Boyd, he's not on a team right now. Noah Fant, he's not on a team right now. And Deshaun Butte, I think he's still in New England. But I mean, now I could definitely see them getting picked up by a team, especially with injuries popping up in the later part of the season. He's probably scoring around 40, 50 points. I could definitely see that. Not sure why. I guess ESPN's model is just saying that they're not on a team right now. They're just projected to have 0 points for the year. So we look at the undervalued fantasy points. So we have Christian McCaffrey. He was injured last year. That's why our model was always showing 159. Justin Fields, he didn't play the whole season, so that's factoring in that. And then Joe Burrow, so 250, 77 points off. That's factoring in the our model is placing, I guess, a greater importance on like the rushing touchdowns, which really that's sort of what the top quarterbacks that go off the board in fantasy are the quarterbacks that can run and pass and score rushing touchdowns. So that's really not too bad that our model is placing some importance on the rushing. So just to recap, we got all these results from the XGBoost Regressor that we ran. And so train and predict was the name of our function. So we have train and predict, and these are the parameters. These are the position and the features. So the positions are running back, wide receiver, tight end, and then these are the features, and these are all the columns that we got from our data set that we wanted to put into our model, the historical data, the health data, the risk tier, and the projected role. So it's spitting all this information to the model, and the model's and we're learning on these columns and making their own predictions. So in the next video, we'll do we're going to do the XGBoost with cross-validation applied, and then we're going to find the best model and run that model compared to the ESPN model. So we'll do that next video, and thanks for watching, and see y'all next video. Bye now.